Okay, today's lesson is going to work on what are called quartiles and percentiles. And actually, the quartile part of it will then spill over to the next lesson when we prepare what's called a box and whisker, which I believe you've had some experience with in 6th grade in that. So what we're doing when we come up with quartiles and percentiles is we're breaking, as quartiles show us, the data into 4 parts. Okay? Now, we saw how we could figure all of this out on the calculator, but my focus is going to be doing it by hand because if it's an extended response question in the regions, you'll have to do it by hand. So simply going through some of these definitions we've had before, the maximum is the highest number, and the minimum is the lowest number. The range is the difference between the highest and lowest. Okay? And the median is the middle number after the numbers are written in ascending order. So all of this we've already dealt with. Now the 2 new parts are what's called the lower and the upper quartile. Okay? And basically what we're talking about doing there is breaking the data into 2 groups, and what we're going to do is find the median of each of those groups. The one thing that you have to make sure of is that the actual median itself is not included. Okay? In other words, you want to break this into 2 groups of equal amounts. Okay? If you had an odd number, then you couldn't do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these 16 finishing times, we're going to rewrite them. Try to get as much space as I can here. In ascending order. All right, let's make sure we got all 16. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. All right, so now what we do is we separate this into 2 groups of 8. Right? And now we want to figure out these particular values. So, obviously, once we've put them into ascending order, the minimum is right there. It's 62. And the maximum is 77. Since we have an even number, the median is half of the 2 middle numbers. So my median is 71.5. Okay? Now Q1 and Q3, or quartile 1 and quartile 3, I take the lower part and I have 8 values. So of those 8 values, my median is 64. And for my upper values, my median is 74. And that is it. That's the quartiles in a nutshell. Now, percentile, if there is any question on the regions dealing with percentile, it will be very straightforward because, unfortunately, there are 2 accepted computations for percentiles. Now, it's the percentage of scores at or below a particular value, but it is also an accepted definition to be the scores below a particular value. Okay? Now, there's really, like I said, any question on the regions dealing with percentiles will be straightforward in terms of how the answer is going to come up. But you do need to understand that what the percentile means is how many scores were below that. And from your own perspective, what you want to be is as high a percentile as possible because that means more people are below you. Okay? So let's do an example with percentile. I have 20 test scores, all right? So as we have to do with a lot of these things, and the calculator doesn't do percentile for you, unfortunately, you got to put them in order. All right, pretty boring watching me write that out, but such is life. Okay, now, if they give you this type of question, it usually is a multiple choice, because then the answer will be pretty clear. What percentile does a score of 78 represent? Well, if we went with the definition of below only, then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 below out of 20, which means it's the 40th percentile. If we went at or below, then the 78 only appears once, so we give it a half. So it's 8.5 out of 20, which is 42.5%. Now, usually when you're doing these types of computations, the pool of scores is so large that neither of these two definitions or two ways of computing it will be that far off. Now, what scores at the 75th percentile? Well, what I want to know is, to get 75 out of 100, what test score is that at? Well, that's the 15th, okay? Or 15 below it. So if I count here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15 scores are below 90. So 90 is at the 75th percentile. Okay? They don't have you, it's a little trickier to do the at or below for this. So what is at the 90th percentile? Well, to be at the 90th percentile, that means you're the 18 scores are below it. So a score of 95 is at the 90th percentile. And like I said, any question on this will be pretty straightforward in the Regents. Now, this is a very typical Regents question that they can have you do. So, first thing is, how many students are in the class? You just total this up, and you get 24. Now, if I have 24 scores, instead of listing out all these scores, I know the median is the average of the 12th and 13th. So one thing that's helpful is do a running total. 2, 5, 9, 15, 20, 23, and 24. Well, where's the 12th and 13th? They're both in a score of 7, so my median score is 7. Maximum score, that's pretty straightforward, that's a 10. And minimum score, that's pretty straightforward, that's a 4. Now, for my quartiles, all right, the quartile is a 4th. So it's going to be the average of 1/4 of 24 is 6. But since when I break it into groups, it's still an even number. It's the 6th and 7th. So that where's the 6th and 7th numbers? A score of 6. Okay? And then the upper quartile is 3/4 of 24. So it's the average of, because it's 75%. So 3/4 is the 18th and 19th. Where's the 18th and 19th lie? Right in there, or 8. Okay? So that's the lesson on quartiles and percentiles. And as I said, we will use the quartiles in the next lesson when we do box and whisker plots.